beep, 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 Jester special. This is what's going on, right? I've come across something and I'm completely confused, right? So somebody help me out with this. There's a tweet that's going on here, right? That Michael Ferran has put up. Now, I don't know whether you know Michael. He's a lecturer in public law in Glasgow. Hello, Michael. How are you? He's also a handsome chap, which we always approve of course. So he's involved in many things on the GC circuit, doing some great work. And he's put up a tweet today that I'm somewhat bloody confused about, right? Okay. So I'll run it by you, and you tell me whether you think the same things as I do. That's in effect, that's what I do every day, isn't it? Right, okay, so here we go. Michael says, and the tweet, of course, is in the Dubris, become a warrior teacher, blah, 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 right, okay? Michael says, any attempt to repeal the Gender Recognition Act without any replacement that meets ECHR obligations will put the UK in breach of the convention. I'll read it again. Any attempt to repeal the Gender Recognition Act without any replacement that meets ECHR obligations will put the UK in breach of the convention. Right, now I'm confused. First off, the GRA breached any number of laws for human rights for people when it was brought in. And secondly, he's spotted something really strong here, I think, by saying without any replacement. In which case, what should the replacement be? Secondly, the idea of repealing the Gender Recognition Act, or as Michael has rightly pointed out, the possibility of a replacement to help deal with this in some way, which would then bring it open to scrutiny. And the most important thing could then happen that so many of us are worried about is that we could take every single tiny step of safeguarding that's needed to get the GRA into the shape it... No, we're not going to do that. We're going to get rid of it. But to do something that's going to help to define whatever this strange protection is and for what. So I'm very confused by this, right? Why am I so damn confused? You tell me. Because I don't bloody know. For some reason, I'm just very confused by it. So Michael then continues, the Human Rights Act places an obligation on courts to interpret law as far as they possibly can to be compatible with the Convention rights. And this will strongly favour the jurisprudence of the European Court of Human Rights. So is Michael saying that in order for us to get rid of a law that has caused safeguarding issues across the board, that has attacked women's rights, and that has weakened our human rights in regards to children, women, gay people, bisexual people, all the usual, is undoable because of the EHRC? Is that what he's saying? So he continues. So anyone arguing to repeal the Gender Recognition Act needs to think carefully about whether they also wish to repeal the Human Rights Act and for the UK to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, because that is likely the only way to achieve that specific policy goal. I personally would not wish to see the UK leave the ECHR and would hope people would think carefully before advocating for policies that send the UK into headlong conflict with the European Court of Human Rights. Now, I, to a certain degree, echo Michael's words about that, but I find it all rather strange when he hit the nail on the head in the first of the tweets, which is a replacement of some kind. Is that what we should be heading for? I don't know. I mean, I'm a repeal guy. You know that, because I think the problem is that gender identity doesn't exist. Now, gender identity isn't mentioned in the Gender Recognition Act, but it does enable breaking down barriers and dealing with unreality. It's unreality that I can't stand. So from my perspective, a replacement may well be the way forward, or may well not. But it's a continuation of the conversation. We're carrying on the conversation. So I'm a bit concerned by it. I'm confused by it, Michael. That's all. I'm like, what's going on in my head? So Michael's explained that quite clearly. This is to do with Goodwin, which was that thing in Scotland, I think, Michael, isn't it? And the ECHR jurisprudence and privacy cases. Right, okay, so I don't know what the hell's going on here, but this is just one of a few things that I've seen. Michael, thanks for popping that up. I think you're right. Let's look at, if necessary, we look at a different process so that we can get all the lies out of it. Put it somewhere else. Deal with it in some other way. Failing that, then does the ECHR have to be fought? Can we say to the ECHR, I mean, are the rest of Europe going to wake up is the question, Michael, perhaps? Because we're beginning to see it, to the dangers of this. But what Michael is talking about there is the ECHR, as opposed to just one small part of what we're dealing with, which is self-ID. Now, you may know that Starmer, Keir came, galloping out on his horse with his cowboy boots on the wrong feet and shouted, "We're going to only have one doctor to get us blah, 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 the GRA, blah, blah, blah." Self-ID is one issue, Michael, right? This is what I'm worried about, okay? Self-ID is one issue. It's just one issue of many with this Hydra. And at the base of this Hydra is the Gender Recognition Act. So whatever the Gender Recognition Act was to be replaced with, or if we aimed for repeal, which would be a longer process, and you say, would involve shenanigans with the ECHR, if that was to be removed, the GRA, we would then have a situation whereby we were looking for another way of defining this, I'm not going to go into that now. We'll have to get into that another time, perhaps. But it may be interesting if you spoke about what you think it could be replaced by, Michael. But it's as if this foundational seed, the rotten seed at the heart of this, which is the Gender Recognition Act, it's no good us saying we're going to cut down this bit of the weed, which is self-ID, and this bit of the weed, and this bit of the weed, and this bit of the weed, unless we get at the rotten tuber at the base. So, Michael, I'm intrigued to know how you think that we're going to get anywhere if we simply think that self-ID is the only issue. How can it be the only issue? That's what I don't... Right? How can it be the only issue? Right? The only issue for me is safeguarding frameworks. That's it. Children in particular from this, this dreadful boondoggle that has been driven directly by the Gender Recognition Act. Now, I can understand Michael will have come at this with obviously a legal lens. Now, I would say, as a gay man who's seen the damage this has done to other gay men and children, that I don't give a damn if we leave the ECHR, and I don't give a damn if we leave the Human Rights Act, and I don't give a damn if we leave the GRA, because I would be quite happy in my mind that most of the women that are involved in this, including people from various organisations, could more than happily put together a Bill of Rights that the government could get through Parliament. Because I have faith in us as a people. Look at us, we all got together and we all did this amazing thing and we've got so far. Men and women together. Women mostly at the beginning. Men are now coming in, some of them, but begrudgingly. You have to knock them off their perch to get them in. But we are beginning to see more men come on board. But without the women, this would never have happened. And the thing that has to occur from my perspective is that the safeguarding of the women must come first. And the end to the GRA is the single greatest safeguarding thing that we can do for women. Right? The rest of it's peripheral. If we have to alter things, if we have to leave laws, if we have to write new ones, that comes next. And in writing those new laws, we will ensure that a false idea, a fake idea, such as gender identity or the ability to change sex, is absolutely eradicated from the English legal system. Absolutely eradicated. And we must then, of course, put things in place to ensure this never happens again, because we have damaged too many children, too many women, and too many families, and too many men. I had a heartbreaking conversation with a chap last night, right, who's broken by what's happened to his daughter. Okay, so I think we really need to start looking at what exactly is it we want. If I'm seeing him saying, well, we can't do this, and then somebody else saying we can do that, the heart of this is the GRA. And I just don't want us, as a group of people and as individuals, to do anything without considering that if we give away the slightest inch, if we just say, if we can get rid of X, we'll be all right. If we can get rid of, them going in toilets, if we can get rid of them being in sport, if we can get rid of the teaching in schools, if we can get rid of the, what's the other ones? The self-ID, if we can get rid of all that, it'll be okay. It will not be okay. It will not be okay. Our absolute target should be the GRA, because it is from that bulb that the rancid flowers bloomed. So, Michael, I'm really intrigued to hear from you. How do you think a different way would look? What would be in it? What would be defined by it? And how could we ensure, when looking at that different way, that safeguarding was the first and foremost way that we looked at it? So thank you, Michael, for bringing up the idea of a third thing. I'm just thick sometimes, right? A third thing. Perhaps now we can start talking about how we can deal with this with a safeguarding lens, because I can't see any other way to protect women, children, gay people, and families that are broken by this ideological cult than to make sure that we eradicate the root of this, the very bulb from which it came. And to do that, we need to attack the GRA with full fury. And I know that sounds like a hard thing to do, but in moving forward and in doing all the things that have been done by all the women that were involved in this, and then some of us that popped up halfway through, right? All the things that have been done, that these women have done. For God's sake, folks, let's not lose our nerve now. Let's not. We will not, I certainly won't accept the crumbs from the table. And I sincerely hope that those of you that are involved in this will not accept the crumbs either. Michael, thanks very much again. Please respond if you want to. I just thought I'd do this because I was like, what's he saying? I didn't quite understand it. Over to you, right? It's not just self-ID. It's not just that sex matters. It's not just that they're in schools. It's the whole thing. And we will need a legislative framework that will eradicate gender identity, ideology, queer theory, critical social justice. This whole day is not just this small thing. We have to maintain focus. We have to maintain what the actual aim and eventual aim is. Because if we accept a half-assed measure, it will be another 25 years before we can get that changed. Keep the foot on the pedal. That's all I'm saying. Not that I know bugger all. I'm a bloke. You're all going to moan at me now. He's mansplaining. Feel free. Other than that, come on. Let's keep going and let's end this bloody nonsense once and for all. There you go. That's your Jester special because I read a tweet. I'm now going to go away and continue to feel confused. Onwards. They don't like it up 'em. See you later.